froggy in my throat now. That's the first time I've had an audience here.
No worries.
All right. Welcome back to the Alternative Highs podcast, the #1 podcast in Southwestern Ontario. If you haven't, go subscribe, hit the like button, leave me a comment. That would be really appreciated. Today's guest is recommended to me by one of my good gym friends. He sat me down and he's like, Dustin, you have to meet him. You have to sit with him. And like, if Lindsay sits and goes out of his way to tell me that I have to sit and talk to somebody, I take that very seriously. Lindsay's been a good guy to me. I worked for Lindsay years ago.
Oh, nice.
And anyhow, today's podcast guest is Ian Vance.
Yeah.
Ian is, well, I won't tell your story. You tell your story. Where did you start out at? Because we were talking briefly.
Yeah.
It was in law.
Yeah. I mean, I got on very early, and my only goal in life as a young man was to get on the police department. And I ended up getting on Windsor Police, so I was on there for 10 years, but I screwed my back up.
Yep.
And I injured my back severely to the point where I couldn't work the road anymore. And then I had, a life-changing decision to make. So I was in the accident reporting center out on the east end of Windsor, and everybody in there was injured.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine it was a toxic environment. Nobody was happy. We were all injured.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody coming in wasn't happy because their cars were wrecked. So I already had my hands in some nutrition stores, and also I owned a bar in Windsor, a small pub. But when my daughter was born, I sold that out. So I had that entrepreneurial spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave myself 5 years to be managing something in sales somewhere, and I wanted to go out and learn the skills of sales.
Mm-hmm.
Basically apprentice in sales. I figure communicating from policing, if I'm able to help people that way, I could find another avenue to help them. And lo and behold, I moved on, and sales, I kept moving my way up. And with 21 days left in my 5-year plan, I became sales manager of a couple radio stations, 5 radio stations in Windsor, Essex County, and here we are today. That's what kind of like what catapulted me into where I'm at.
And where you're at is pretty cool, because you've recently started doing the behind the camera stuff? Or in front of the camera
stuff? Yeah, I mean, basically for the last 10 years, I've been fortunate enough where I got onto some seminar circuits and doing sales and enrollments and that for some pretty big mentorship and education platforms. Mm-hmm. So I've been traveling for the last 10 years, the UK, Australia, Canada, the US. And finally, it was last August. I've been doing it and busting my ass for long enough, doing it for other people, from the bottom to the top, from being the initial junior advisor to eventually working my way up to a director of sales and managing 5 global remote teams around the world for some pretty big names. And I finally just said, if I'm going to put in this effort for someone else's dream, we're going to do it for our own vision. So we kick-started everything this past August, and we haven't looked back.
So, and these are the parts that always break my brain. Policing is one thing.
Yeah.
It's a dream. It's cool.
Right.
It's something you really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sales.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to do sales. It's the funnest job on earth,
Mm-hmm.
in my eyes.
Right.
But how does one find, because you're talking about, you went from, brand new to leadership role in under 5 years, which takes most people 5 years to get their bearings in sales,
Right.
to get their customers, their clients, what they're bringing in. You go right on through,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to teach the whole group of sales how to do. And is it your way of sales, or is that what worked for you, or was it a sales like mentorship that you learned?
Right.
How did you get to that part? How does that even happen?
I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by some very high achieving people in the industries, And there was always little aspects of their approach that I would grab, and then I piece it all together, and then it just falls into a melting pot, and here we are today, you know. And really, it comes down to what I think a lot of businesses lack, because everybody's about spreadsheets and bottom lines and revenue, and people can preach human-centric and they can preach their people, but that's exactly the main focus, is the human side of business for our programs.
So with your programs that you started in August, what is your program?
Yeah, it's called the Human Side of Business, the main program that we have. And basically what we do is we'll do quick little lunch and learns. I'll do one-on-ones for C-suite executive style. Or we have a self-paced course that somebody could take over a 6-week period if they want to bring their up-and-coming leaders or their leaders that may need a little bit of brush up. People can do that. So I think it's really important where in the business world, there's so much training for the employees. And then when somebody gets into a management role, training all but stops. And then what they do is they develop everybody up to the same level of skill set, and the only thing separating them is a title. And then from there, you know, that creates tension. That creates tension, because if I'm the manager and I don't know any more than you do, and you're the next guy in line, that starts causing conflict, and it causes toxicity. And really comes down to having a very healthy culture.
Is there this is just a fun question, is there a specific sales group that you like to hit? Is there that industry that's easier to work with than the other? I think, or is it just? I think when you get to middle and a little bit upper management, it's easier. To try to get the executives and the CEO to transcend their ego and to put it in check and admit that no matter what happens in their company, good, bad, or indifferent, it's their responsibility. It's their fault or their acceptance, because they, as it goes down the line, it started with them. But in order to get C-suite executives to do that, that could be a little tricky. So I actually like that, because that's a big challenge. You know, the hardest people to crack, because it is, like you said, ego driven. Like they got that business to there. They've got these people under them working. What do I need to do? These are the workers. I'm just overlooking them. And it isn't that they're doing anything wrong necessarily. It's more about just self-awareness. So I think that's why it's better to do, you know, to meet with them one-on-one than it is to meet with them and point them out in front of their people. Once they realize, and we can get them to take a look at things from a different angle, you know, it depends on the lens that they're looking through, right? And if they can see it from their employee's lens versus their upper lens, then I think that they learn to appreciate what people are going through, and, you know, they'll put the checks and balances in place. I like that. So we spoke briefly before on the phone, and I don't know if we're good to talk about this, but what future plans look like for you? Yeah, absolutely. Like that got me jolted. I'm like, I've been struggling here. Like, this is really hard to do. This isn't easy. And then when you get talking to everybody and you hear them starting their new projects and this and that, it's fun. It's great. And I was like, man, it's just put a little more effort in. Well, what we've got going on is my wife and I are now empty nesters. I'm 54, she's in her late 40s. We are at an age right now where we're still young enough to go do something exciting without worrying. And we're very minimalist people. You know, a lot of people, they identify themselves on what they have rather than who they are. And instead of us trying to work out of Windsor, Ontario, and spread our message across the country and even across the border, we decided to take it on the road. And we've created this thing called the Wanderwell Tour. And we are taking off for the next few years, and we're bringing the message out to the people. And, you know, we're spending 3-4 weeks in one province, 3-4 weeks in the next province, and moving on, depending on, you know, the interest that there is. And there's a lot of interest in the East Coast and a lot out to the West Coast as well. When you get in the middle there, when you're in the prairies and all that, there's not a lot going on. And
So
I've worked
I'm
there.
really trying to find some people in that area. That'll be a real interesting place because I really enjoyed Saskatchewan. And so with my leadership, with my leadership programs and my keynote speaking, it's on holistic leadership. Okay, so leadership not only is your ability to be in a boardroom, but you want to start looking at your mindset, your mental health, your physical health, things like that. And that's where my wife comes in because that's her expertise. So it all stems from what we have. It's called ascendnow.ca, and it's her nutrition and fitness and holistic clinic, online virtual clinic. She adds that to her pop-up weddings because she's a wedding officiant.
I like that.
Okay, so we're going to be doing pop-up weddings where she'll line up 6 weddings in a row, 1 hour at a time. 15 minutes for the ceremony, 30 minutes for pictures and hanging out with the people. Bring 20 of your closest friends and family, and then 15 minutes for me to reset while she's doing her thing. I'm her little roadie, so I'll be the roadie behind the scenes. And then I take that holistic nutritional aspect and I also put it into leadership. So that's exactly it. And we've got a lot of people who are like, how can you guys juggle this? How can you possibly carry this on? Well, how does any other couple go to the same job? They work in this, they do their same job.
Yeah.
Mine's in leadership, hers is in wedding, and it just happens to be the nutrition and the holistic aspect in the middle.
So, can you explain that holistic nutrition to me?
Yeah.
Because I'm not really familiar with it.
It's just really about, cutting out the garbage. Think about what they're feeding us.
Mm-hmm.
You can see what's going on in a lot of elections and a lot of changes that are going on around the world where they've been just pumping poison into us.
Yeah.
And people need to understand how to do a lifestyle. Like my wife never wants to speak to anybody that comes to her and says, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Well, that's a losing battle. People won't stick to it. If they want to learn to evolve their lifestyle and they want to learn to eat healthier, supplement healthier, do the proper exercises and the things that actually fit them.
Yeah.
Because in the world, they mass produce food and things that we overconsume based on the masses. What you digest and what you eat may not be what I can eat. Like, and people need to learn to eat and consume things that are suitable for their DNA, their blood type, different things like that. And then hitting their mindset as well. So I'll tie into that on that program where we help people with their mindset and just being in a better place.
And how do you find working with people and trying to teach that? Because mindset is a difficult thing.
It is.
I can imagine, like, I know for myself what I've done and where I was, how hard it was.
Yeah.
When you're teaching somebody that, what's that like?
Well, it's rewarding, but
I was
it's
going to say, if it works, it's got to be the most rewarding.
It's very
But does
rewarding.
it work every time?
People are of their own. All you can do is put out your message and speak your truths.
Yeah.
And if somebody connects to it, then they connect to it. I can't force a square peg into a round hole. We can give people guidance. We can show them the way. We can hold their hand to get there. But in the end, they're the X factor, right? In anything in life. If they don't follow through, if they miss their workouts a couple times a week, if they're not sticking to a program and what is suggested and recommended, we can't control that. That's out of our hands. So, and that's where the mindset comes in also, because the biggest thing for me personally on this whole trip is that we're going to be putting on some other events as well, once a quarter, called Breakfast with Champions, where we're going to involve professional athletes, significant celebrities or impactful people that are.
I've seen some of your lineups.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
And what we want to do is we want to raise awareness on men's mental health for youth and adults.
Yeah.
The biggest failure I feel with certain large organizations in Canada is they don't have a specialized program for men.
No.
Every time you can Google it, you can go on the different websites for these, and if you look for men's mental health, you might find a posting from 2021 about Men's Mental Health Day. It's unfortunate and
a niche market,
and it's a very niche, and I would venture to say that there's not a woman out there, or a spouse or a partner, It doesn't want their man in their best version of themselves.
100%.
And if we can help do that and raise awareness, that's our ultimate goal.
It's funny how much you and I align. I prior to I got burned 3 years ago.
Okay.
And my mental
Yeah.
down on the ground.
Yeah.
Just totally lost everything. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, what's next? And that, like you just said, who's out there? You know, I've been battling the last 3 years.
Yeah.
This last year I've kind of been able to turn things around, found purpose again.
Yeah.
I found this, I found cycling, and it really is. If I wasn't sober for 6 years, and if I wasn't able, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
And you are so right on men's mental health, and it is one of the most wildly underplayed situations in this century that there's so much, but it's wild how it's just not very well looked after.
Absolutely.
How do you get to that though? How did you find it? Was it because being a police officer, I'm sure you've seen some stuff that you can't unsee, and I'm sure that there's some things that changed your life.
Yes, and most significantly was my injury.
Yeah.
When I was injured, I went through 3 years of depression and chronic pain syndrome, and you know it cost me everything back then. You know, from businesses to my first marriage to not being around every day, putting my daughter to bed, which we, you know, God bless her, we've been very fortunate in regards to raising a beautiful, well-versed daughter, and she's 24 years old now. But it was difficult for me to not be able to be there every single night to put her to bed. As simple as that seems, that was my gig. And so basically, after dealing with that, you know, I just woke up one day and I just started exercising a little bit. There was nothing they could do for me in regards to my injury. The neurosurgeon was talking to me and saying, "You're 31 years old, nothing's guaranteed. I could cut you open right now, fix those discs and the bulging discs, but nothing's guaranteed. And I would rather you just stop doing what may injure it." Well, that meant the job, playing softball, golfing, everything I loved, right? So finally I just woke up after 3 years of it. I did go seek some professional help through the psychiatrist that was with the department, and the man was just amazing and really taught me a lot of things on how to cope and how to manage. You know, I think a lot of people, they think that they're going to suddenly get over something and it's going to be gone. It's never gone. You just learn to manage it better. You just learn to find the light instead of constantly looking at the darkness. And here I am today, and I've never been happier, and I'm thriving, man, just thriving, and I'm so grateful for those that I have around me that helped get me here.
Everybody I talk to, you know, they think it's a pill. They think it's this. They think it's. If it was that easy, everybody would look like you and I do. You know, I am in that gym 7 days a week. You know, I have a goal for when I'm 45. I haven't played hockey since my car accident, which you and I both, I broke my back when I was 31.
Okay.
That was when this, the more you talk about, like me and you have, but I just recently, I've started golfing again this year.
Good for you.
I started doing things that they said that just wasn't going to happen for me. And the thing I've always found is whatever liability they think that we are, you know, that's just words.
Yes.
It doesn't actually mean anything. People get so worked up in what they think works and what they, it's wild to me, you know. Well, if I exercise today, I should be able to go to McDonald's 3 times this week. What?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, and I used to have that mindset when I was a bachelor. I only worked out so I could eat and drink whatever I wanted. Well, I mean, I quit. I'm coming up on 1 year sober, and it really just came down to being sick and tired of waking up sick and tired.
Yeah.
And no matter what level I would drink, I would start getting black spots.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would lose time.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, she rarely drank, so it was very easy for me to give that up. And the difference in clarity, I was speaking with another gentleman in Windsor on his podcast, and he did the same thing, and he was in the bar industry, and we both nailed it. We talked about it. There was like that 3 to 4 month period where suddenly it just, your mind opens up, your clarity, the fog is gone, mm-hmm. and it's a life-changing thing. And I don't preach to people because I rocked it for years, man.
Well, that's the thing with new sober people, with me.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not knocking religion, I'm not
No.
knocking, but when you first start something, you're like, oh shit, that's that feel. You should do that.
Yeah.
At least I was.
Yeah.
It took me, because I wanted to start this.
Mm-hmm.
I met with a social media guy.
Yeah.
Within 3 months, I was all over the damn place. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Let's take some time here.
Yeah.
I need to get some credibility
Yeah.
before I start. And then I realized that wasn't my job
Yeah.
anyways. Not to tell people what to do.
No, and I
But
try
you
not to
want-
tell them. I just share my journey, man. If it resonates, because I always say, if what I say resonates or it doesn't resonate, let it filter through.
Yeah.
If it does, then connect with it and let's talk more.
Yeah.
And you get so many people out there that want you to remain in the box that they know you for so many years,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't even comprehend hanging out with you or doing anything if it didn't involve alcohol, which opens your mind
Mm-hmm.
to the reality of those relationships. Now, they're still all great people. There's a ton of people that are just amazing. I don't tell them, we'll go out and we'll just drink club soda.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit. We still hang out.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
need to drink
Yeah.
to do anything. So basically, all I know is that it's created clarity. I've never been at a level of success personally, financially, professionally, emotionally, spiritually than I am now, and I attribute that a lot to giving up the alcohol, because I can't perform at the level that I want to perform if I'm hungover and a bag of shit the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's been the greatest thing that ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, between dealing with a spinal cord injury and
Yeah.
trying to figure out what life is
Yeah.
with all these other, and then when I had the booze and the drugs and everything else,
Yeah.
it just made it so ridiculous. And
Yeah.
once you find that, it's purpose.
Yes,
It's always been the purpose.
it is. Yeah.
And having the intentions to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has nothing to do with those people. They're still great people. They're just on a path that isn't aligned with me anymore, and I can't get to where I want to go by doing the same old shit.
Yeah.
You'll always see the same people in their 50s, in their 60s. I can remember going to bars at 19 and 20 and looking around and seeing like a 40-year-old guy there going, what the hell? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then when you become that 40-year-old guy, you're looking around and you're just, well, it is what it is, man. And I had a good time, and I still have a good time, and I wish nothing but the best. But it just makes me wonder why they legalize and push the #1 killing drug that just messes with people. And then all the other things that help with clarity and opening your mind and making you feel better, they demonize it.
Uh-huh.
So be it.
We live in a very funny time.
Yes, we do.
If you were going to give 3 pieces of advice,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll hit the male audience
Okay.
with this, for mental health,
Yeah.
with mentoring,
Mm-hmm.
what would that be?
For mental health, if you're struggling, be vulnerable. Set your ego aside and have the courage to be vulnerable, because these days authenticity is the new currency.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest thing. We're always told to man up and toughen up and different things. We literally just recorded this thing today. We recorded a video that'll be coming out probably while we're talking. And it really is about that. It's that society has driven into men that they're supposed to be this. You can still be that strong warrior, but still open up and have a soft, compassionate side to human beings.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. And as far as mentoring, I mean, I'm getting messages constantly. You know, I may have a detractor that I think you're better than us and this and that. I can tell you right now that it's 100 times over that I have people reaching out privately. I have people connecting with us. We even have a website for the initiative called youmatter.com. And matter is spelled with a Y, not an E. And basically what that is, it's now a resource. I started it because I wanted to bring men into a room and try to get them together, and we just shoot the shit and talk. And hey, you're not the only one dealing with this. At work, kids, family, health, nutrition, everything like that. Well, that was all fine and dandy until you try to get men to sit down and talk. And that was like pulling teeth. It was impossible.
Yeah.
Those very same men, though, are messaging me privately on a regular basis, and I'm talking to them one-on-one.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't become an efficient use of time, but it's an honor to be able to do that. Or somebody reaches out and they say, hey, I fell off the wagon, and it wasn't about me having to I never went for counseling, I never went for therapy for drinking, but people are resonating with the message. So I immediately have people that have gone through that will help support people, and I put them in contact with one another. And if that makes that guy's day better, then I've done my gig, man. I've done my job.
Man, everything you say, I just feel like I'm looking in a mirror right now, hearing myself. It's amazing.
It is amazing when you get together with people and those that gravitate to one another.
Yeah.
When you get to another level of consciousness and self-awareness and things like that, you get the right people that gravitate to you, and some fall off, but for the most part, the people that are connecting, those are your people.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all I look for. I have my wife. I literally tell her, like, sometimes we always joke around about it. You know, if you disagree or anything, we always joke and say, listen, you're literally the only friend I have.
Yeah.
And you're my best friend, and you know, and we take great pride in that. But we're just really dialed in on our own path and our own journey.
I really respect that. So, with your new project, when does that set sail?
We are taking out. Well, the house is up right now. We are taking. Lindsay got us our fifth wheel.
It's so funny. Right after you said that, I was like, I went and looked at motorhomes. I was like, I need to get on the road.
Dude, it's freedom. Yeah. It has nothing to do, you know, everybody, you're going to live in a trailer park. No, I'm going to live at a mountain. Yeah. I'm going to live in a forest. I'm going to live in a northern lake, an ocean, a desert, whatever. We're going to live wherever we want.
It's so amazing.
And because we're very fortunate and blessed that we can work remotely, then why wouldn't we? Because I always say we're not trees. We're not stuck in one place. And the whole concept of that you have to live in one house and you have to die in that house and stay in one city, I've never subscribed to it. You know, your parents choose the city that you live in.
Yeah.
After that, you have a conscious decision on whether you want to stay there or not. And I love Windsor. I love the people. It's just, if I can wake up at an ocean or a mountain, man, why wouldn't I?
As you're saying, I'm getting excited.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, not at all.
So back to, when's the show on the road?
End of May, beginning of June for sure.
Yeah.
I believe we've got our first stop up near Algonquin we're at the bottom of Lake Simcoe. We'll be there for a few weeks. That way we can do different events in Toronto, Barrie, even if we want to venture out to Ottawa. But I personally have never been to Algonquin.
That's amazing.
So we got the kayaks, we got the dogs, away we go, man.
And you figure how long, as long as it takes, do you have like a time span for what you want to do with this?
Like how long we want to go out and do this?
Yeah.
We probably won't be returning for three to 5 years. I've got the entire route around North America. Now in the U.S., that's going to be more like volunteer and different things like that, and just getting the message. We'll do the brunt of our work in Canada, obviously. But we're going to be all the way down to the Texas-Mexican border. We're going to go down to Key West. We're going to loop back up the East Coast, out to Halifax, back around. And I believe it's May or June of next year, right, that we want to be in the Yukon. I've never been to the Yukon, brother.
Yeah.
And she's going to do some pop-up weddings in the Arctic Circle up there.
That's so cool.
Very themed, you know. She's got some bungee jump
Have you already got yours set up too?
Do I? Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
This is so crazy.
Yeah. Well, that Google, I think I sent you the Google Doc that had all of that stuff that was in there. She's the love doula. She's trademarked as the love doula. So she does very unique ceremonies and different things like that. And
I should have had you both come on today.
That's okay. We'll come back.
Yeah, I need to have a conversation with you.
yeah, so it's just a very, like, really, we get to wake up and we get to change 12 people's lives in that day.
Yeah.
Where we're marrying 6 couples, and we get the opportunity to watch them with their friends in their greatest day and their greatest moment. And we get to go do that at very scenic locations. We're hooking up with music festivals. We're hooking up with different themed, whether it's a rodeo, whether it's Dover, whether it's Pride, whether it's Calgary Stampede.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man. We can just roll in and start doing weddings. We can do special ceremonies where if somebody wants to do a renewal. It doesn't matter. It's just.
Did you say you're going to do a podcast while you're on the road?
Yeah, absolutely.
We do it right from.
We're going to do it mobile. We're going to interview people out on the road, and then even when we do the Breakfast with Champions, I have full intention of making sure that the athlete or the celebrity that's there will hit on our podcast.
So awesome.
And then as we go and meet just unique people,
that's the thing.
That's the thing. There's so many people from all over the world that you're going to run into with unique stories.
Yep.
Come on, let's do it.
So, where can people find you?
Yeah. So right now they can find us online.
Yep.
Think Tank is our master company. That's my leadership company.
Okay.
And that's Think with a Y. Everything's with a Y. And that's because it's always, what is your why in life?
Yeah.
Who is your why in life?
I like that.
Things like that. So Think Tank is our parent company, and then from there we have our different brands and our different areas. But that's thinktank.ca. The tour itself is called Wanderwell Tour. That's on Facebook. We have a website that's being built right now for it.
Yep.
And that's where I'll probably run the podcasts and things like that out of there, and we can, just kind of house everything there. So, but it's not hard to find. It's not hard to find me on social media. Like,
what a
I beat it like a mule. Like it's I'm on that thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
There is no other way to get your word out.
Yeah.
If you sit around and wait, the next person that wants to do what you're doing is going to do it.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be a little more consistent.
And that's the one thing, is it's a matter of just taking action, right? I've been with so many high achieving people that the biggest difference is they actually take action. A lot of people talk about it. I've been guilty of it for years.
Yeah.
Just, I want to say this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then the bucket of crabs pulls you back, and you don't launch.
Yep.
Well, my wife and I, we got married 3 years ago, I believe. It was 3 years? 2 years.
2.5
We've
years.
been, 2.5 years. And she just really opened my mind and opened the door. I had a businessman in Windsor, and I tell this story all the time. I'd taken a contract to go help him with one of his projects. And when that contract came due, there was some issues with me and some of the staff, because I'm just direct, and some people can't handle directness. But he made a statement to me, and he said, Ian, you know what? 80% of the time you do things great. It's that missing 20% that doesn't put you over. Well, she has more than filled that 20%, and we just completely feed off of each other. We bounce ideas, and I always compare it to, you've seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
My thoughts are like that. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And she just lines them up,
Yeah.
and it just all makes sense. And it's what I needed.
Yeah.
So, and we've not, we haven't looked back, and just very fortunate, very humbled by the response and everything like that. And if we can bring it out to people, we're going to.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
I really look forward to everything, and
Yeah.
if there's anything I can ever do, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Ian,
Pleasure, brother. I'm glad that we got
This
together
was-
like
this
this.
was-
This is
that's
terrific,
awesome.
man.
Thank
Terrific.
you so much.
We'll help push your podcast as well, and get the word out, and vice versa. It's about people cross-branding.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's finding synergies and helping one another advance and move forward. So
After we're done this, I have somebody that you have to meet, because 3 things that you said you got to figure out. he's going to be the answer.
Nice. Yeah, you know what? He probably is.
Yeah.
I made that mention, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you.